This week on Dance of Joy, we talk about eye contact with King George, science fair sign making, and Barbara Bush moderating a debate. All that and more as we watch Season 6, Episode 19 of our favorite 80s hit sitcom, Perfect Strangers. Hello and welcome to Dance of Joy, a Perfect Strangers rewatch podcast. My name is Sophia. I'm one of your hosts, and joining me, as always, every week is your other host and my brother. What's up, Imran?
Hello, sister.
Hi, brother. What's going on?
Oh, I'm good. How you doing, listener? I'm really good, and I have to say publicly right here on this public platform, I have to thank you, my sister, for taking me to see Hamilton on stage, downtown Chicago.
Best sister ever.
You won, yes, you won the lottery, Hamilton lottery. Tell them the whole story. It was amazing.
Well, I always play the Hamilton ticket lottery, and it's been back in Chicago for, I don't know, like a month or so. September something it started. I was playing the lottery, and they're doing this new thing with the ticket lottery now is like when you don't win the lottery, they offer you $45 tickets for certain dates. And I kept asking you, do you want to go? Every time I got that $45 offer, because we know he has to see it because he hasn't seen it yet. And you were busy. And then I stopped getting that offer for $45. And then I was like, oh no, I missed my chance for cheap tickets. But then I lost again and got another $45 offer. And again, you weren't available. So I said, forget it. I'm just going to go anyway.
Yeah. So we mentioned last week you went to see Hamilton.
And so I went to see Hamilton with those $45 tickets on a Thursday. And then the next day on Friday, I opened my phone and I won lottery tickets for the following week.
That's amazing.
$10 tickets. And it turned out that you were available.
Yes, finally. And let me tell you, these $10 lottery tickets, second row Orchestra Center. Wow. They were right there. King George definitely spit on us and stared right at us.
Oh, King George stared right at us.
He was scowling right. I swear to God,
pointing at us.
I made eye contact. It was amazing.
And we saw a lot of spit. A lot of spittle flying.
That's how close we were. I was late to the Hamilton game. It wasn't until 2020 when Disney releases the film version on the platform.
I thought I was late, but
and
I was early.
And I knew I was here. I just never got into it. But then seeing it, I was like, this is brilliant. And so seeing it on stage was wonderful. And, it's about politics. It's about, there's an election. There's campaigning in there.
Governments being built.
There's governments and campaigns. So
speaking of politics and governments and elections, this week, we're talking about Perfect Strangers, Season 6, Episode 19, called See How They Run.
Oh, that reminds me of a couple of things.
Yeah, what does that remind you of?
Three Blind Mice.
Three Blind Mice, See How They Run. Right? An old nursery rhyme.
And the line in the Beatles song, Lady Madonna. See how they run.
Which I think is probably a reference to Three Blind Mice.
It is. So originally, it's got to come from Three Blind Mice.
Three Blind Mice.
See how they run.
See how they run. Something like that.
Yeah.
Like a song.
I forgot the rest of it. I used to know this.
Well, thankfully, we have the internet.
It's also the theme song for the Three Stooges shorts. It was the musical of Three Blind Mice.
Three Blind Mice, see how they run, see how they run. They all ran after the farmer's wife who cut off their tails with a carving knife.
That's horrible.
Did you ever see such a sight in your life as Three Blind Mice?
Lovely. And I believe, did they, is that a reference to politics also?
Attempts to read historical significance into the words have led to the speculation that this musical round was written earlier and refers to Queen Mary I of England blinding and executing 3 Protestant bishops.
Whoa. This is a dark nursery rhyme. They all were. All the old nursery rhymes are very dark. I love it. What I do know, if you open the TV guide, this is what you would have read about this episode of Perfect Strangers. When Balky runs for student body president.
Okay, elections.
Larry encourages him to tell the students only what they want to hear.
Larry.
Politics. It's politics for you.
And hilarity ensues. Does it? We'll find out.
Maybe.
In this episode, we have our 2 main actors, Bronson Pinchot and Marklyn Baker as Balky and Larry. We also have their significant others, Jennifer and Marianne, played by Melanie Wilson and Rebecca Arthur. We have a quick appearance by our favorite Lydia Markham, played by Belita Marino.
Yay.
And then we have among the student body some guest cast that we'll get to later.
In the timeline of Perfect Strangers, we are on February 22nd, 1991.
Yes.
Air date. And of course, you can binge along as all seasons of Perfect Strangers available to stream for free on Amazon Freebie.
Amazon Freebie.
It's Amazon. So it's fun to watch along.
All right, let's see what this student body politics is all about. The episode opens and we're at the Chicago Chronicle in the basement, as we often are. And Balky's at his mail desk table thing, and he's got this poster board and these, remember those stick-on letters you would get
vinyl
from
stickers
back in the day when Office Max was a hot place to go get office supplies. There were stickers I got them a lot for science fair projects.
When you had to make any kind of sign with perfect letters, you bought these vinyls, and it was still hard to line them up and make them.
You had to use rulers and
make them straight, as we'll see in Balky's poster. Balky is making a poster here.
And he holds it up to show Lydia, and first sentence is the premise of, right in the first sentence, the premise of the episode. He holds up the poster. He says, "Look, Miss Lydia, I'm running for student body president of the Chicago City College."
So he's still in college.
He's in college.
It's proper. It's not like night school. It's proper college. The old CCC. And he holds up this.
It's got to be night school because he works at the
that's true.
Chronicle. Yeah.
The CCC. But he holds up this poster board, and on it in red letters it says Balky, and then it says all capital Bartaku, and then he's run out of room, and the almost runs down the side.
Yeah, it's funny.
There's a drawing of Dimitri in red. This is all in red. Balky protagonist for student body president, and then there's an exclamation mark underneath.
It's weird. Why would he put a drawing of Dimitri on?
And not only that, Dimitri Sheep is sitting there on his mail table in the scene.
Dimitri
Clearly,
Sheep intern is back.
we have the Dimitri Sheep. He brought him to work, and a drawing of Dimitri Sheep on Balky's campaign poster.
Yes.
Which looks very amateurish, of course, and childish, as it's meant to be.
Yes. Interesting note here. So he calls it Chicago City College, right?
Yeah.
And if you'll remember, he started going to college. We're in season 6 now. He started going to college back in season 4.
Yeah.
Remember there was that was it that flashback episode?
No, it was the one where there was also there was thugs, and they got there was a meet.
Yeah, night college.
There was the Miami Vice, and there was a phone booth inside night college.
Yeah, but he started before that. Yeah, and when he started, the show called it City Colleges of Chicago.
Oh, and now
we're calling it Chicago City College.
Nobody knows what the actual name
but
of this
nobody
college
would
is.
have remembered that from 2 seasons ago in the early 90s and late 80s. Anyway, back in the scene, Lydia's excited for him. She asks him how it's going. And Balky says, "Oh, just as sleazy as pie."
Just as sleazy as pie.
He meant to say easy as pie.
Breezy, easy as pie. Easy as pie.
Even easy as pie. What's the origin of that statement?
I don't know,
Why is pie so easy?
It's not that easy to make.
Pie's not easy. I watch Bake Off all the time.
You got to prepare the filling.
They just had pastry week on Bake Off.
You got to get the temperature right.
Easy. Maybe it's easy as eating pie.
That's pretty easy.
Yeah, eating pie is easy. Making pie is hard. Anyway. So he says it's sleazy as pie, and he says, just like campaigning on Meepos, all you have to do is make sure that everyone knows how you feel about the important issues. And I've already told anyone who would listen that I'm pro-sheep and anti-wolf.
It's a good stance. It's a good stance. What do you got against the wolves? They have a purpose too, Balky. But Lydia's okay, that's good, Balky. But and then she mentions maybe he should ask Cousin Larry for help. And we all know this is a bad idea. Right now, what's going through your head is do not do this. You know what's going to happen. And Balky kind of reiterates what we're thinking. He says, I'm afraid to ask Cousin Larry to help me with my campaign because if I do, Cousin Larry will help me with my campaign.
He's wizened up.
Yes, he says, I don't know if you noticed, Cousin Larry tends to go overboard. It's an understatement. And he said he's a kind of a type A personality, and there's a laugh from the audience.
There is, but I also expected another punchline here. I expected some kind of joke about, or some saying something around type A personality, or some wordplay, but it didn't happen.
I guess everyone's just laughing it because we know Larry, and that's he's very type A.
And he actually tells Lydia, I beg of you, please don't tell Cousin Larry. Promise me you won't tell Cousin Larry. And Lydia, this is like a little opportunity to get Lydia's character in here. She says, a team of wild horses couldn't drag it out of me. And then after she starts to walk away, she stops and goes, of course, the sweaty cowboy pulling the reins might have a shot.
Saucy.
Saucy.
There's a little saucy joke on her exit. I love Paulina Moreno. And so, look, Balky doesn't want Larry to help him. Doesn't want him to know that he's running for student body campaign.
But he's working on this poster.
He's not doing a good job of hiding any of this because
in the same basement where Larry
where
works.
he knows Larry works right across, and before you know it, Larry walks out from behind him and sees what's going on, and Balky turns and is shocked, and now he's bracing himself for what he thinks is going to happen, which is Larry wanting to get involved and take over. And Larry just walks up and looks down and goes, Oh, I see you're running for student body president. Well, good luck with your campaign. And Balky didn't hear this because he explodes and goes, cousin, wait, listen to me. I know what you're thinking no matter what you say, no matter what you do. And then he's like, wait, what did you just say?
And Larry says, good luck with your campaign. And Balky says, well, bang my bongos and call me Desi.
I love that Desi Arnaz reference.
Yes.
Ricky Ricardo, I Love Lucy, played the bongos. It's great.
And we've been seeing this form of joke quite often, every episode for a while.
The other one was
do something and call me something.
Paint me green and call me Gumby.
Yep.
And then before that, there was another one. This is 3 in a row. It's 3 in a row. They've used this line and changed it.
Some writer really likes this. Yeah. They're all funny though, so it works. And Balky can't quite believe it because this turn of character from Larry. He's like, you're not going to force yourself into my campaign and then go overboard and make yourself a royal pain in the boingy?
Boingy, boingy, bingy, bingy.
And Larry's like, oh, I see. You think because I lost every campaign I managed in school.
Okay, it's some history.
That I would see your campaign as my last chance to be a winner. So this is just essentially the writers putting into words what they want us to know and think about this plot.
Balky's like, you lost every single campaign. And Larry admits yes. And he goes, it used to bother me, but I'm over it. Those 120 hours of self-help tapes cured me.
Whoa.
I no longer have that overwhelming need to win just once. So he goes, so good luck. So now we know not only has he lost every school campaign, he's listening to self-help tapes, which I guess
120 hours.
was fashionable at the time. Yeah. Audio tapes.
Cassette tapes.
We're talking cassette tapes. That's a lot of tapes.
And Balky is still not buying this, and he says, wait one finger-licking moment.
That's a
finger-licking good.
KFC, yes.
Are you telling me that we can discuss this and your eyes won't bulge out of your head and that vein in your forehead won't start throbbing? And Larry's like, yeah, sure. That syndrome is covered in tapes 1 through 43, coping and being at peace with your body. And then he does a little mantra from the tapes. He closes his eyes and he goes, my body is like a hollow reed. Trouble blows through me like the wind. And then he goes, So this is what he hears in these self-help tapes. Yes.
I think this is apparently it's a setup for future episodes. They're starting to gag really late in the game here and see like late season 6.
Yeah. They had plenty of opportunity to start this self-help tape.
I guess that is growth in Larry's character that he now is aware that he needs some help to help calm him down.
Where in February 1991 we have growth in Larry's character and growth in his mullet.
Oh, by the way, this scene, this whole scene in the basement, I could not stop staring at Mark Linn-Baker's hair.
There's so much hair.
This blowout, it's so huge. If you look at him straight on, there is a square grid of hair just framing his face all the way down to his neck, going behind his shoulder line.
It's a lot of hair. When he talks, it like shakes in the back.
It's bobbing around. When they cut to the side view, it is an enormous thing. I'm like, how do you even take care of that? How do you grow it that way? How do you maintain this? There's this big fluff, and Balky has like straight long mullet.
I mean, do you remember in 1991? Was that the style?
The mullets being this prominent in 91, maybe early 90s, late 80s.
Like both of them have kind of blown out hair in the
because
front.
I thought very quickly it transformed to like the fade and the short frosted tops, or maybe that was later. But
coiffed.
oh my Lord, is his mullet poofy? It is just this dense.
So poofy.
Part of me is jealous because I'm losing my hair a little bit. And part of me is like, wow, look at this dense nest. Like I can't stop staring at it. It was
he was a young man.
Very distracting in this mullet. Jesus.
Anyway, so yeah, lots of growth in Larry.
Yes.
So he does this mantra from the tapes, and Balky's like happy that he's like worked on himself and gotten over that because he wants to tell Larry about his campaign. And Larry says, I'd love to hear about it. And Balky tells him that if his goal, if he's elected, is to reinstate the language requirement, which would mean that every student will have to take a foreign language to graduate.
Oh, interesting.
And why does he want to do this? Because he feels that we all understand each other better if we can speak in another man's tongue, walk in another man's shoes, see the world through another man's binoculars, cure another man's ham, build with another man's Legos. And then he goes, there's a B. He goes, I'm still fine-tuning my platform.
That's funny. Cure another man's ham. Solid platform, but Larry scoffs at it, and he goes, you call that a platform? And then Balky just snaps, because this is what we are all waiting for.
He's like,
to happen. He goes, I knew it was coming. He walks back to his table and gives a solid Maposian rant.
Oh, po, lingo, moniki, despiriki, yugi, apaltoniki, babastiki, bartakamuki. I can't even do it.
He's like, and he answers, babastiki.
Babastiki. And Larry's like, no, wait, no. I know you thought that I was going to jump in and go crazy, but I was only asking if that's your platform. And if it is, I hope it works.
I hope it works. But yeah. And Balky's like, really? Larry goes, really? And Balky goes, thank you, cousin. He's like, but that's not the only weapon in my Arsenio.
Arsenio?
Instead of Arsenal. But Arsenio Hall would have been huge. He goes, I haven't even started baking my special election spleen chip cookies. And Larry's like, spleen chip cookies? He goes, yes, original recipe, and now with pimentos.
So this is kind of a funny gag because we have Larry's character trying to reassure him that he's healed himself, he's worked on himself, but
not gonna get involved.
But then Balky keeps tossing in these details that makes his plan so ridiculous and so Maposian.
Yeah, he keeps kind of pushing his buttons and just like almost asking for Larry.
Taunting him.
To intervene. And there's a great little pantomime here Larry does at his desk. There's no words where he's trying to restrain himself. And it's so wonderful because Mark Lindbaker, he stands there and he's got a condescending smile. And it looks like he's about to say something. And then he turns away and goes back to his paperwork. And then again, he turns back and he's got that smile and he's raising his hand like he's about to go Balky. And then he turns back and he starts flipping through a notebook, trying to distract himself. And finally, he can't help it anymore. And he says, Balky, I don't want you to think I'm getting involved in your campaign, but because I'm not, really. He goes, but as a disinterested bystander, would you allow me to say that spleen chip cookies are not going to be enough to get you elected? So here we go.
And Balky says, of course they're not. Don't be ridiculous. That's why each student gets a special vote for Balky sheep kidney coin pouch. And he holds up this
it's like this red, brown, shriveled
kidney
sack. Yeah, it's a sheep kidney coin pouch.
And he holds it up and Larry starts to reach for it and Balky pulls it away. He goes, no, it's not quite dry yet.
Oh, God.
Gross.
He's going to dry a whole bunch of those.
And here comes Larry's splaining. He says, Balky, sheep kidney coin pouches and spleen chip cookies with or without pimentos may work on meepos. But in America, you need slogans, buttons, posters, position papers. We have got to set up meetings with the voters. We're going to have to, did I say we? Because I meant you. This is your campaign, not mine. I wouldn't do it. I put all that behind me. No way, no how. Funny. Not in a million years. Don't need it, don't want it, wouldn't do it. Not this guy. And
so funny. It just
Balky just looks at him. He's like, you want in, don't you? And Larry breaks.
Oh, please,
more than anything else in the world. Please. So Balky agrees to let him be his campaign manager. Oh,
boy. He's very thankful, but Balky makes him promise one thing. And this is a great little edit they do here. He says, promise you won't go overboard. And Larry goes, I promise I won't go overboard. Pats him on the back. and we get a quick, like 3D screen flip transition.
Wipe,
the thing rotates in three-dimensional space. And we cut to their apartment, and there is red, white, and blue banners and posters and volunteers on phones.
Overboard,
there's
campaign
streamers,
headquarters.
Balky for president. He's got a clipboard. There's people stuffing envelopes.
There's like a guy with a drum.
He sends out a guy with a drum with a message that says Balky something
can't be beat,
and he's beating the drum. And Balky walks in and it jumps
There's
back.
phones ringing and commotion.
Sounds like a telethon. It's campaign headquarters.
Right.
Balky walks in. He's shocked. He walks around.
He's so shocked. He checks the number on the door.
He's like, "Oh, is this the right place?"
Yeah. And he's looking at all the posters, and there's like American flags. I don't know why they're
Balky for president. Why so American?
Why is it red, white, and blue? We don't know what the school's colors are, but he made it into
elections are an American thing.
I guess
that's all they're saying here. But yeah, it should have been in the school's colors, really. Yeah, it's funny. He walks over to this table and picks up this pamphlet, and the guy working there just snatches it back from him, making him jump. And Larry walks over and he goes, "Balky, let me show you around campaign headquarters. This is campaign headquarters."
And Balky gets mad, and he's like, "You promised me you were not going to go overboard, and here you are scraping barnacles off the Titanic."
So he gets a lot of idioms and sayings right in this episode too. Like this, he didn't mess up.
Right.
There's one later that he doesn't mess up. That clearly they could have put a joke in.
But scraping barnacles, that's like you've gone overboard.
Yeah, you've gone overboard. But he gets it, right? You've gone overboard. It's not, he doesn't mess up the idiom.
Right.
Whereas last episode, fresh young Balky B was also fresh, naive, innocent, know nothing Balky B.
Yep.
This one, he knows a little bit of things.
Yep.
And Larry tells him this is just the bare minimum.
Oh.
They've got pictures with posters. They're calling students
all over
to
campus,
urge them to vote. They got volunteers stuffing envelopes. Balky walks over and starts reading what they're stuffing in the thing. He goes, "Dear fellow voters." And Larry grabs it out of his hand. He goes, "No time now. You can read what you read later."
You can read what you said.
What you said later.
Later, yeah.
Read what you said later. Clearly it's from him. He doesn't even know what's on this thing.
And then he's like trying to get Balky excited. So he's like, "Have you noticed how handsome you look in the poster?"
Yeah.
And Balky says, "Oh, cousin, it's a real Kojak moment."
See, now he messes up that one. He got the barnacles thing right. But Kojak, of course,
Should
it's a
be
Kodak moment.
Kodak moment.
Kodak moment.
Kodak film.
Which doesn't even exist anymore.
Yeah.
They don't make Kodak. I don't know what they're making, but they don't make film.
But Kojak
was Telly Savalas, the bold
was
detective.
an action crime drama.
Yeah, who always sucked down a lollipop and said, "Here's looking at you, kid."
Yeah.
So
Kojak.
he confuses Kojak with Kodak. Both things not around anymore.
Yes. Moving on.
Yeah, so Larry's trying to distract him and get him through this to get him on board, and he walks over to the kitchen, and Jennifer and Marianne are there. He's roped in the girls, and they're working on some poll.
They've done some poll. They're telling the latest results, and he's telling Balky, "I'm good, Balky. I'm really good."
Oh, he's boasting about how good he is.
And Jennifer and Marianne are very excited. Jennifer's like, "Balky, you're going to be student body president." And Marianne's like, "And I'm going to be first girlfriend."
First girlfriend.
And we find out that Larry has the women working on the women's issues or whatever.
Yeah, the women's vote.
Jennifer's going to speak on Balky's behalf at the Women in College Foundation. What is this made up?
I love all
Women in College
vague
Foundation.
Colleges, city colleges of Chicago.
City College of Chicago.
And the women.
What's his
College
major?
Foundation.
School and studying?
I'm majoring in smart.
Majoring in smart. And
I'm AP
education.
smart class.
Yes.
Beach. My job is just beach.
And so that's what Jennifer's doing. Marianne says, "And I'm going to talk to the cheerleaders because I speak their language."
Oh, boy.
And she gets up and she starts to do with her skinny body, this cheer.
Balky's
"Give
name.
me a B." And she tries to make a B
And
with
it looks
her
like a B,
arms.
and they all go B.
"Give me an A." And she gets to K right before Larry cuts her off.
I wanted to see K. I was like, how are you going to do K?
K is easy.
Oh, I guess the arm and leg. She was almost there. Actually, all the letters are pretty easy. L and I.
Okay, I.
But she doesn't get to finish because Larry's condescendingly
save it for the rally.
He starts tapping on the counter. He's like, hey, save it for the rally.
And Balky looks around at all these people in the apartment and he starts to worry. He says, "Are all these people going to stay for dinner?" because I only made pig snout for 4, and you know how hard it is to stretch snout.
No, it's not easy to stretch snout.
And Larry's like, no, these are all your volunteers for your campaign. They believe in you. They love you. And Balky hears
It's
this
so
and
funny.
goes over to like this old lady
She's on the phone,
volunteer and puts his hands on her shoulders and she just like slaps him
She
away.
hits him. He's trying to hug her and she hits him and he's just like, they believe in you, Balky.
Yeah.
And he tells him, Balky, your job is to just be yourself. He's like, just be Balky. You think you can handle that? And Balky goes, well, of course I can. Don't be ridiculous. I've got the vest, the accent, and 26 years of experience.
Hold
Balky-
on.
So Balky's younger. Balky's only 26.
Balky's younger, I guess, because we know that Larry in season 1 was turning
He's turning 24. And this is season 6, but we don't know how many years actually have passed between seasons. Not necessarily 6 years.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Could
true.
be, could not be, but they are. I guess they are
But
in the modern. But if it's 6,
year by year,
yeah.
then it's
Bucky's-
no, because there have been references to like how many years Balky's been.
Oh, that's
in
true, and it is
Chicago.
consistent.
It is about a year.
Well, he
per
worked
season.
3 years at the Chronicle.
So that would be Larry. That would make Larry
30.
30, 31.
And Balky's only 26.
Yeah, so he's younger, I guess. So
he was like 20 in the first
I
season when he showed up.
guess very young, naive.
Well, now we know his age definitively.
Although he's also mentioned that his mama is like in her 70s.
Look,
Which
women
makes her
on
a very
Meatballs
old mama. Maybe
stay
they're
fertile
fertile
longer
yeah,
because of their diet and
maybe.
their lifestyle on Meatballs. It's very fresh air. The air
The
is
math isn't mathing,
It's fine.
as the kids say. Okay. So anyway, he says, of course, I can be me. I have 26 years of experience. And Larry's like, great. And Balky says, oh, by the way, I need your advice to Larry. He says he wants him to tell him which vest does he think he should wear to the debate.
Oh, boy.
Then Larry gets a little panicked and buggy-eyed. He goes, what debate? And Balky explains that he's been challenged to a debate the day before the election. Isn't that great? Larry's like, no debate, no debate.
Debates are bad.
Debates are a big mistake. And Balky doesn't get it. He's like, isn't it a good way to like show my positions on the issues and what I'm about? And Larry's like, no, we've got that covered. Didn't I tell you I'm good at this and that? And so speaking of positions, he's trying to convince him that he's got everything under control, and he starts handing him different pieces of paper. He says, tomorrow at 10 o'clock, and he gives him a piece of paper, you'll be meeting with the football team. You'll tell them how important you think sports are to the school's image. Got it?
Okay, sports, good for school's image.
Okay. Then he pulls out another paper. He says, then at 10:30, you'll be meeting with the science club. You'll tell them you think education is important and too much of the school's budget is spent on sports. Got it?
Balky goes, okay, too much on sports. Got it.
And then Larry's like, okay. He pulls out another paper. At noon, you'll be meeting with the fraternities. You'll tell them you think entirely too much time is being spent in the classroom and you're pushing for a 3-day weekend. Got it?
Too much fraternity.
Which is not what he said at all.
That's the opposite of what he said.
That's the
Balky goes, too
opposite.
much fraternity.
And
He's
then-
getting lost.
And then another paper. Then at 3 o'clock, you'll be meeting with the Honor Society. You'll tell them you think we're here to study, not to party, and you're pushing for Saturday classes. Got it?
Oh boy! Oh my God! You see the pattern happening here,
Yes.
and Balky sees the pattern. He goes, "Cousin, hold on, wait a minute." He goes, "I got a small question from a simple meapiate boy. This looks like I'm just telling everyone what they want to hear,
and each group is the opposite.
yes." And Larry just looks at him and goes, "Welcome to politics," with a big
Oh,
smile. He's not wrong. He goes, "I am so proud of you," because now Balky has gotten it. But Balky does not want to do this. He thinks it's dishonest. And now Larry has to appeal to what he wants. He goes, "You want to reinstate the language requirement, right?" He goes, "To do that, you have to get elected student body president first." And he continues to confirm he is the one to help him do
So
it.
Larry's whole position is like whatever it takes to get very American of you, Larry.
Say whatever you have,
Just
get elected, and then you can do what you want to do.
Change.
I mean, to be fair,
Don't-
it's a strategy.
and don't
that
make
we've
good on
seen-
any of your
We've
promises.
seen it be used in real life. And
Very
then you
American,
have the
very
integrity candidate who will only run on what he believes. But Balky insists, no, I'm going to make my positions clear at the debate. Larry again tells him no debate. Forget the debate. His first rule of campaigning, never
Do not
debate. Do
debate.
not debate. At that point, Jennifer and Marianne have walked over, and apparently they have the results of the poll.
So Larry gets excited. He calls the whole room to attention. He's like, everybody listen up, attention.
And you could see the girls look at him and like do the,
and they're like nervous.
No, you don't want to do this.
They're like, nix that.
Yes,
yeah.
you see him do that gesture.
And he announces to the whole room, we have the results of the latest poll. And then he goes, go ahead, Jennifer, give them the good news. And
before they get started, Balky interrupts and goes, cousin, I think you're wrong about the debate. And Larry goes, Balky, for the last time, no debate, no debate. And then he turns to the girl, Jennifer, and goes, go ahead, Jennifer.
Tell them how far Balky is ahead. And Jennifer goes, Balky's trailing by 15 points. And Larry immediately turns back to Balky and he goes, you're going to have to debate your opponent.
You're going to have to debate. Oh, boy.
And we fade to black. End of Act 1.
All right, we got a debate coming up. I mean, this is all a little wacky and kooky. Listener, you can join this conversation, join our Facebook group. There's a link in the episode description. I post a thread of the episodes we're going to record ahead of time. You can watch on Freebie. You can leave your questions, comments, memories, observations. You can meet other listeners of the show and other diehard fans of Perfect Strangers. Lots of fun over there.
We go into Act 2 and we have an exterior shot of the apartment and a caption that says 2 days later.
And in my head, it was 2 days later.
The SpongeBob meme.
Yes. Several hours later.
You know, I never, this is how old I am. I don't really know anything about SpongeBob.
Me neither. I just know it from
these
the
memes from social media.
I've just seen it in the videos and it's hilarious.
We were a little old,
Yeah.
SpongeBob was after our time. We never got into that, but yeah.
You know, it's like for adults as much as it is for
People
kids.
really love it.
Yeah.
It's kind of iconic, but
It's a little
I missed
subversive.
the whole thing. 2 days, later.
And apparently there's like an argument going on inside the apartment as we cut back and we hear a struggling and you see Larry fly out of Belky's bedroom all
and
mad.
His hair's
disheveled.
wild.
His face is red.
His tie is askew.
He is all discombobulated. He goes, Belky, for the last time, you are not going to wear the traditional Maposian election hat.
And we don't see Balky. We just hear him go from inside the room. Oh, is that so? Is that?
Is that? And Larry yells for him to give it to me. Give it to me.
And Balky's yelling, no. Larry's like, give it to me. And then we just see a hat thrown out of Balky's room into Larry. And Larry catches it and he holds it up.
And it's like this black hat with tassels and a red brim. It's long and pointy. And there's like a poofy thing at the end. And the audience laughs. And I'm like, but this hat is fine. What's the problem with this hat?
And have we not learned our lesson about his Meposian hats? They work. Every custom has a
Remember
hat.
when he had to sell Mepos? He needed the Mepos selling Mepos. Yeah, he needed the Hey Biggie hat. Anyways, Larry's procured the hat, and as he's walking by the closet door, he opens it and throws it in.
And he
slams it, and then he walks away.
And then this is probably the only part that made me laugh so hard in this episode. So Larry comes into the living room a little bit. Then from behind him, we see Balky run from his room
to the closet
to try to get the hat. And then Larry sees him out of the corner of his eyes, and he just runs back and barks at him runs him back into his bedroom.
So
it was so funny. I was like, "What is this?"
Larry is stressed.
He's crazed.
Yeah, he is crazed. He walks back. Jennifer and Marianne are there, and to elaborate how stressed he is, he goes, Balky's ready for the mock debate. They're setting up chairs. There's a podium. He goes, I've groomed him. I've prepared him. It's taking 5 years of my life.
Also, the idea that Jennifer and Marianne were just in the living room
watching
setting this up while they're yelling and screaming and barking at each other and had no reaction because they were in the living room. Obviously, they couldn't hear any of that.
Setting up the chairs. They didn't even notice. Yeah. They didn't even hear any of this because the sound does not travel past the doorway, but right there. And Larry announces Balky as here is the next student body president of Chicago City College, Balky Bartogamus.
And Balky walks out and very uncharacteristic of Balky, he's in a Western style blazer.
He's in a nice suit.
Because Larry is running this and we've already heard he's not letting him wear any of the Maposian stuff.
He doesn't look happy in the suit, but it's a nice suit. And Marianne comments, Balky, you look so handsome in that suit. And he's just mad and he just says, it needs a hat.
And Larry's like, it doesn't need a hat.
Get about the hat.
And so the ladies sit down on these chairs in front of this podium. This is all, by the way, in the apartment that's big enough for.
Well, they've pushed the sofa back and it's huge. They had all these tables here previously. Where did they go?
And
All the
Balky
tables are
goes
gone.
to the podium, and we get a little insight into like what Larry's been coaching him on, right?
So Balky goes to the podium, puts his hands on it, leans forward, right, while Larry's talking.
Like
to
a
him.
child, like
Yes.
resting on the podium with his elbows. And Larry says, Balky, remember, presentation is key. And Balky's like, right. And he's like, well, what do we do to improve our presentation? And Balky, very childlike, like with his elbow still on the podium, he's like, And then he remembers, he's, I don't rest my hands on the podium. It makes me look lazy. And then Balky starts fidgeting with his tie while he keeps thinking.
Larry goes, ah.
And he's like, I don't fidget with my tie. It makes me look nervous. And Larry's like, okay, what else? And Balky thinks and he goes, heck if I know.
Larry's like, oh.
And then Balky remembers, I never use the phrase, heck if I know. It makes me sound chloroformed.
Uninformed, Larry corrects him. Uninformed. Yeah. And then Larry goes, okay, and then he does this thing that's so funny. He puts out his hands and has a big smile and makes
jazz hands.
And then he makes the sound while he's smiling. He goes, and just smiling like an idiot at Balky. Until Balky remembers, remember to smile.
Yeah.
And Larry goes, good.
So it's like jazz hands in front of his chest open, and he goes, meaning smile. All right. So then he tells Jennifer to go ahead and ask the first question. And Jennifer says, Mr. Bartakamus.
And then he goes, aha. Also, he's like bouncing around, trying to loosen up, wiggling around. It's so funny. And she goes, Mr. Bartakamus. He goes, aha.
She says, what is your position on the financing of student loans? What does that even mean?
I don't know.
And Balky just goes, student loans? And then he thinks and he goes, boy, I wish I had a hat. And he looks
like Balky.
He says, okay. And then he tells Jennifer, ask the question again. And she asked the questions again. Mr. Bartakamus, what is your position on the financing of student loans? And
here's what Larry has coached him to say
in response to any question.
Yeah.
He says, Jennifer, I'm glad you asked me that question because the financing of student loans is an issue that deserves my attention. And let me assure you that my attention is what it will receive in its complete and unabridged form. And the financing of student loans is actually part of my 10-point program for better schooling. And Larry actually says those last words with him.
Yeah.
10-point program for better schooling. And Larry's like, yes, Balky, you are doing great.
And he runs over. At which point they do this bit another time where Balky puts his arms down after he goes, yes. And then Balky pops up, and then he's fidgeting his tie. Larry goes, and then he goes, wing, and then Balky doesn't. He just has this panic smile in his hands. So
the repeating gag is
wing. So funny.
Yeah,
because Larry is so into this and is so crazed over all of this. All right, we transition to a shot of Chicago City College outside
in an auditorium,
and then we are in an auditorium, and there's a stage.
It's the debate.
It's time for the debate. The girls are there to support Balky.
Yes. And Larry's like off to the side of the room, and Jennifer and Marianne go up to him. And
well, this is pretty good.
This is a pretty funny exchange. Jennifer is a little worried looking. She says, Larry, I have to talk to you. I have something to tell you that's going to upset you. And then Larry goes a little nuts and he goes, you've changed your mind. You're not going to marry me.
And Marianne goes, that's awful. You didn't tell me that. Jennifer's like, that's not the bad news. And Marianne goes, maybe not to you, but think of poor Larry.
Oh my God. And Jennifer's just like rolling her eyes at Marianne, like incredulous. And she turns back to Larry and she goes, and she starts to say, Larry, the bad. And Larry's face is like frozen in panic.
Panicked look.
And she's like, it's not about the marriage. He's like, thank God.
Oh, it's relieved. It's so
then
funny.
What is the bad news? Well, the bad news is that the athletes found out about Balky's plan to reinstate the language requirement, and they've switched their votes to Balky's opponent.
Uh-oh, the jocks aren't happy.
And Larry
Making me
said,
work.
okay, I thought this might happen. I got to tell Balky. And so the girls go to take their seats. And as they're going, Marianne says, it's a good thing Larry has this campaign to take his mind off the broken engagement.
Oh, Marianne.
So funny. Okay. So we're on stage now, and Larry goes up to Balky and tells him the news. And Balky just says, well, people change their minds. And then he goes, pigs, on the other hand, make one decision and stick with it.
And then he goes, that's how people change their minds. Pigs don't.
And Larry is trying to get him to understand the gravity of the situation. He's like, if we don't get them to change their votes back, we're going to lose the election. But never fear, because Larry has an easy fix. He says, all we have to do is lose the language thing and they'll switch back.
And Balky, just as we're all thinking, well, what he's thinking is like cousin. And then here's another phrase he gets right. He gets all flustered. He goes, sometimes I think you're just a few grapes shy of a bunch.
Yeah, that would have been a good opportunity for a wordplay joke.
The idiom, the phrase, right.
You're a few grapes
shy of a bunch.
But what could it have been?
It's all, or you're like a couple of fries short of a Happy Meal, or like you're.
No, I know, but he could have.
No, but he could have messed that up.
Perfect Strangers jokes, he could have been like, "You're a few grapes shy of a Happy Meal."
Yeah, something
like
mix
that.
the metaphor. But this is the second metaphor that he actually gets right.
Yeah, I don't like it. It's not like consistent with the Balky jokes.
He's getting things right. Anyway, so he goes, "A few grapes shy of a bunch." He goes, "Haven't you been listening? I cannot lose."
A few grapes shy of brunch.
Of brunch would have worked.
You're
yes.
a few grapes shy of lunch.
Of lunch, a few grapes. I feel like they did mess up this kind of thing in an earlier episode, but
anyway.
But here he's getting a lot of things right this episode.
I don't like it.
It's strange. So he tells him this. He doesn't want to lose the language thing. This is the reason that he's running for president. He can't give that up. And Larry, again. American politics. Tell them what they're going to want to hear. Once you're elected, you can do whatever you want. Balky says it's a bit dishonest, and Larry goes, "It's the American way."
Didn't we say?
Oh my God,
the American way.
A little dig on the American politics. And Balky thinks the students will mind, and Larry's like, they're going to expect it. But at this point, the female moderator has walked on stage, and the debate's about to get started.
The female moderator? What?
A female moderator.
Yeah, it's a woman. Okay. And the moderator announces that what's going to happen is they're going to have an opening statement and from each candidate. Opening statement, then question and answers from each candidate. And so she introduces Mr. Bartakamus to go first with the opening statement. And Balky pulls out a paper of his speech and he's looking at it. And Larry just stays there standing.
Yeah, Larry pulls out his own copy of the speech and just stands there. And he's like, okay, let's go. Let's go. And Balky looks at him like, nods his head like, get out of
here. And Larry's like, oh. And he steps back, takes a seat on the stage behind him. And Balky says, "Thank you, my fair chair lady."
That's kind of funny. My fair lady,
chair lady. And he addresses faculty, my worthy opponent, and students. He says, "My name is Balky Bartakamus, of the students, for the students, by the students."
By the students. And then he puts his hands on the podium, and the guy goes, ah! And then he grabs his tie, and goes, ah! And then Larry goes, wing! Right at him in front of everybody.
Yeah.
He goes, wing!
So then he starts his statement. He goes on. He says, "If elected, I promise to be firm yet flexible, tough yet vulnerable, soft yet absorbent."
Oh, like good toilet paper.
Yes.
Yes, fantastic. And Larry's like rifling through his papers. He's
like,
Balky has gone off script at this point completely.
And then here's a funny line. He says, "I would like to establish a kinder, gentler cafeteria."
And everybody applauds. Yay.
Which, of course... Do you know this reference?
That's George Bush, kindler,
George
gentler
Bush Senior.
nation. Senior. That was his campaign motto or what he ran on.
Yeah, famous
right?
campaign speech, a kinder, gentler nation in 1988 when he was running for president.
Yeah, how'd that work out? I don't remember. I mean, I kind of remember.
Do we have a kinder, gentler nation?
No.
But it was like it became kind of a catchphrase.
Again, tell people what they want to hear and then do what you want once you get elected.
He wanted a kinder, gentler nation.
Yeah, great job, George.
So that's it. That's his opening statement. And then they open the floor to questions for Balky. And a bunch of hands go up from the audience. And he calls on some woman in the pink Angora.
Pink Angora.
she says, Mr. Bartokoumas, when you spoke in front of the Honor Society, you said you wanted to be the education president. But when you spoke in front of the fraternities, you said education was overrated.
Uh-oh.
Where do you stand? And here I totally expected a joke.
About standing?
But I'm standing right here on this stage in front of you. We didn't get that joke, but I do believe that joke was in an earlier script and it was probably cut. Because that's like perfect setup, right? But what we do get in this episode, he says, I'm glad you asked that question because where I stand deserves my attention. And I can assure you that where I stand will receive my attention in its complete and unabridged form. And from the back, we hear Larry go, good answer, good answer. And he's clapping. And the woman who asked is like, wait.
That doesn't make any sense. And there's these jocks sitting next to her.
And Larry just cuts her off and goes, next question.
Next question. These jocks are sitting next to her. One of them yells out, what about the rumor you want us to take?
This is funny. How do we know that they're big, dumb jocks? They're big, beefy guys in like leather jackets.
Yeah, in a college leather jacket. So they're like, these are the big, stereotypical big, dumb jock student
like Moose
characters.
From
Archie.
Archie,
yes. That's how you knew he was a big guy and he wore a leather jacket all the time.
Yeah.
Same thing here. And this guy's like, what about the rumor you want us to take some dumb language before we graduate? They're not fans of learning.
Angry about
they're very
language.
angry about learning a second language.
They're very angry.
Yeah.
They call it dumb. They're like, what? Why is language such a polarizing
it's very divisive at Chicago City College. And then Belky starts. He goes, I'm glad you asked because I cannot lie to you. And he's going to explain, but Larry gets up and interrupts him. And he's like, Mr. Bartokoumas has got to leave. He's got somewhere else to go. So I will say on his behalf. And Belky covers his mouth, shuts him up, makes him sit down.
Says, cousin, I have to do this.
Yes, he's going to get straight. And how do you know he's going to be serious now? He walks in front of the podium, downstage, to get real serious with the students about this issue.
And Larry goes and retreats and sits down again. And Belky says, listen, if you're going to vote for me, you've got to know who I am and what I really believe in. My name is Belky Bartokoumas, and I'm a sheep herder from Mipos. And yes, if I'm elected, I do intend to reinstate the language requirement.
And the whole place goes boo! They start throwing things at him.
Starting to riot
on the verge
over
of a
taking
riot.
a foreign
They're
language.
going to need to call police
in 1991, they're trying to say that Americans really didn't want to learn any other languages. What?
I mean, they're like, look, they made us take Spanish. They made us pick a language starting of like sixth grade for years.
Languages are great. I love learning.
You are the big language person.
I still take tons of language classes.
I didn't have to take language in college, and I don't remember Spanish.
I have, as of today, I have a 1,019-day streak on Duolingo.
Is that the longest?
In which I cycle through 17 languages.
Wow. But here at City College in 1991, they do not want to be learning anything extra, I guess.
No, they're booing.
They're booing.
Like, America.
And
English.
Bucky's just trying to help broaden their culture, their person, their mind.
I didn't really I feel like
so strange.
They could have, added to the stakes by giving us a little insight over why exactly they're so mad, but it's just very surface, like dumb jocks and the whole student body don't want to learn languages.
Well, but there's a twist about that also.
Yeah.
So anyways, we cut to the apartment and Belky and Larry walk in and Larry is sad. We can all guess what happened. He tells us.
He says, I lost, Belky. I lost big. I wanted to win just once.
And Belky's like, cousin, would you please stop this? He goes, you did not lose. I lost. I did. I lost the election. And Larry looks at him and goes, you're right, Belky. You're the big loser.
And Belky loves this.
He's like all quiet, shy. He's like, smiles.
He's like, and don't you forget it.
Don't you forget it. He doesn't mind being the loser. As they sit down on the couch and we hear a little lesson time music.
A little lesson.
There really isn't a lesson coming up here.
No lesson. Just a little insight. Larry says that he can't believe that Belky's taking it so well because he lost. And, Larry's just focused on these 13 losses he's had. Belky says, no, cousin, I did not lose. I didn't get elected president, but I got what I wanted.
What?
You got more than you wanted, and I wanted what I got. When you got skin in the game, you stay in the game. but you don't get
Stuff
to
from
win
Hamilton?
unless you play in the game. Oh, you get love for it. You get hate for it. You get nothing if you wait for it. Wait for it. Yes.
Oh,
Anyway.
wait for it. That's not what happens.
Anyway, tangent. Okay. He says, I didn't get elected president, but I got what I wanted. My opponent thought that reinstating the language requirement was a good idea, and she's going to push for it.
Haha, all those dumb jocks got to learn a language anyways.
I also like
Even
that
they
a
voted for
woman
him.
won.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't get to meet her at all, but I like that that a woman won.
Wait, the female moderator?
No, his opponent. Yeah, the female. Why did you say it that way?
I don't know.
The female moderator. Actually, in the cast list, she's written as female moderator.
It's the female moderator.
I think that's why you said it.
Is it female?
No, it's the moderator. But
Female
anyway.
moderator? Yes, but his opponent, also female, wins, and now is going to force the jocks to learn a language. I love it. And Larry's like, and that makes you happy? And Belky goes, happy? I'm erratic.
He means ecstatic.
Yes.
And Larry just like, then that's it. Like Larry just sits on the couch and he just like sighs and he starts to like
he slips back into
beat
his
himself up
loser
again.
mode.
He's like, oh God, oh goodness, I lost again. And Balky's like, this is happening again. And Balky gets up from the couch and goes to the back to get this like Walkman cassette player Walkman thing. And Larry goes on. He's like, I've lost 13 student elections. And the last one, I wasn't even a student. And he's whining and he's beating himself up. And Balky just like puts the headphones on Larry's head, on his ears. He's like, okay, here we go. Tape number 1. And he presses play. And Larry's whining and whining. But then the tape goes on. He's like, I can't believe it. And the tape starts. And he stops and he listens. And he's like, and then we hear him go, my body is a hollow reed. Trouble blows through me like the wind. And then he goes, and roll credits.
Roll credits. Listener, before we get into our thoughts, check out our TeePublic shop. Get some swag, get some t-shirts, some hoodies. jockandnerd.com/shop will get you there. You can get a coffee mug, a tote bag with the Dance of Joy logo. It is a great way to support this show if you enjoy this nostalgic silliness.
Yep.
Who are some of these people playing
let's
these
talk
characters?
about some of these guest casts. So
the female moderator.
The female moderator was played
Wait, there's a female moderator?
Wait, females can moderate. It
was an older woman.
The moderator
we should mention she was
played by a
woman
woman named Marty Boyle Slout.
Okay.
Marty, I don't know. We've actually seen her before in season 2. She was a customer in the Twin Cassetti's shop.
Beautiful Dreamer, the one where Balky was having nightmares.
Yes. And she has been in a lot of other shows. She's on various episodes: Charlie's Angels, Knots Landing, Mama's Family, Growing Pains, Quantum Leap, Beverly Hills 90210, Murphy Brown, Chicago Hope. Yeah, a lot of, and she played Barbara Bush on something called That's My Bush.
Oh, you don't remember That's My Bush? I think this is from the South Park creators. It was like a live action half-hour sitcom about the George Bush presidency, and it was really funny. And she looks like Barbara Bush.
Yeah,
it's a good casting.
Okay.
That's My Bush was wild. That was a wild show. I can't believe they let that on television. What about the blonde Lisa Morgan? She said her name is Lisa Morgan.
Lisa was played by Rhonda Britton.
She looked really familiar to me. I don't know why.
Rhonda Britton went on to become a best-selling author, an Emmy Award winner, and she founded this life coaching program that was featured on Oprah called the Fearless Living Institute.
Wow.
And it's still around. There's a website. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe you've seen her on Oprah?
No.
Okay. And then we have the jock, one of the jocks, the jock with the line of dialogue, and his name is Troy Froman, who later became a regular jock called Ox on Saved by the Bell.
Oh, I think I kind of remember Ox from Saved by the Bell.
Kind of a moose-like character, but it's Ox. He was also on a bunch of shows like Just the 10 of Us, Life Goes On, Married with Children.
Yeah, he played the jock well. Barbara Bush was a great moderator. What did you think of this episode? Before we get to the listeners' comments.
The episode, what did I think? I don't know. It was just another meh for me. I think like there wasn't, For me, it was like they didn't make the stakes solid enough. Like, yeah, okay, I get it.
It's another thing from Larry's past that he has to make up for as an adult that's bugged him for years.
But also, like, for me, the jump between, like, I did all this self-help tapes and got over it to, like, no, I still was, like, a little forced, right? Yeah. There has to be some inciting thing that makes him really, really want it again after having healed from that. It didn't really sell it to me. And also, why the big revolt over language?
Boo, language.
Like,
so strange.
Could they not find a more polarizing issue for Balki
but that makes sense for Balki to
and maybe in the early 90s that was like at the forefront
language.
Of like
this is what
dialogue.
This is what an immigrant would bring to modern education, whatever. I also overall it was all right. It's
okay. There were a lot of missed wordplay
and like
jokes.
Now he's getting the metaphors right. So like, where's the joke?
Yeah, that was like kind of sad for us because we love those wordplay jokes.
Honestly, as you know, cringy as last week's episode was, I'm still thinking about Fresh Young Balki B. Oh my god, that was like trauma. Especially because I just watched right after we recorded that last week. Paramount Plus put out a documentary on Milli Vanilli.
Interesting.
Just completely randomly. It was wild. I watched it. And it's actually really tragic. And I feel bad for Milli Vanilli. But it's a really crazy story. So that got me thinking about that episode again. And compared, that one stuck more than this one. Is just like, it was all right. Whatever.
This one just like, I don't know. It just like didn't make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it did, but like.
Seems a little fillery and reachy, for stuff. For them to do. But what did our listeners think?
Let's see. First up, we have listener cousin Nicole Stoner. This is a funny comment. She writes, a Bibi Babka bakery, a night school prom, a cow for Yaya Biki, a racehorse, 2 tanning beds, and now an entire campaign office.
Where's all this money coming?
Seriously, how big is this apartment?
Yes.
Like I said, the apartment got bigger at some point, noticeably. And then
it fits all those things at once.
This is funny too. Cousin Pam Hitchcock responded, "As big as your imagination."
That's it. It's just sprinkle some pixie dust, then it gets bigger.
Enormous, and on a newspaper salary for a couple young bachelors. Yeah. What?
Giant. This thing would. This would cost like $4,000 a month today.
Like the horse was just ridiculous.
Yes, like a horse lying down takes up more space than a horse standing up.
I don't think a horse could fit in my apartment. Maybe, but how would the horse get to the apartment?
I don't know. It's there's a few stairs that he'd have to take.
The stairs are too narrow for horses. Anyway, and then we have listener cousin Pam Hitchcock who writes, "Same old story of Larry taking over Balki's wants and inserting his own. I wondered how Larry got that wide variety of campaign volunteers and so quickly. But hey, this is Perfect Strangers, so just go with the flow. Yep, good question." Larry's hair looks like an overused Brillo pad. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
She says.
You can wash dishes with that mullet. Oh, my God.
She says, not good, not bad, but a very forgettable episode.
Yes. For me. It's entirely not memorable.
Although I did laugh out loud a lot at that one part where Larry barks and chases Balki back in the room.
That's probably the highlight.
That was very, very funny. Of the episode. Very, very funny.
Manic Larry at his manicest.
Like what? Yeah, it was.
Just, that is the funniest part of the episode. Don't be ridiculous. What's that? Twice, actually?
Of course I have. Don't be ridiculous.
And a solid Dimitri the sheep appearance.
Although there
right
was
on the table.
Missed opportunity for Dimitri in the campaign headquarters scene to be dressed up in like campaign.
Oh yeah, he could have been on the phone or something, or with envelopes in front of him. Yeah, with the little campaign hat.
And speaking of the part that made me laugh out loud, I feel like the last few episodes, it's been Larry that made
doing
me
crazy
laugh.
things.
Like when he says, "Don't even think about asking me out."
Don't ever say that again. But
Larry's over the top, out of nowhere.
They've been the highlights, absolutely, of the last few episodes. He does it again here. It's kind of like the same thing, where he's just manic,
just out of nowhere, just manic.
That's a good point. The Larry's bringing the laughs. Sparkling Baker.
So I did laugh once, so
One laugh is a low,
but it was like a good laugh. It was like a belly laugh.
It's kind of a low quota for an episode per episode.
And I was disappointed with the lack of wordplay with the wordplay thing, but it's what is all right. We're still in it. Let's talk about Perfect Strangers today, or PS Today, which is where we discuss, can this episode be remade today? Would it hold up?
I mean, you actually, again, it's kind of a timeless thing. It made me
There
think
are
of
still elections.
a fantastic comedy from 1999 called Election.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew Broderick, Reese Witherspoon. It is genius, brilliant.
Very good movie.
But there are still elections all the time,
Still
and
elections,
and
there's still campaign headquarters,
and campaign like
Would
shenanigans.
be a lot more social media though these days.
But like the idea of telling what they want to hear and then do it, that really hasn't changed.
That's the
You
same.
can do the whole thing again. You could.
Although we wouldn't have a Walkman and cassette tapes for the self-help tapes, but it would be
whatever.
like YouTube or whatever.
You just pull up
On
the
your
app.
phone, yeah.
Maybe again, the joke you could be like, have AI write the campaign slogans, and they're all crazy.
Yeah.
But I think you could absolutely update this and run it
or
again.
the joke would be like he pulls out like his opening statement or the answers to the questions are from ChatGPT or something, and they're like ridiculous.
Or you do like a Roxanne thing, and Larry is feeding him ChatGPT answers live as they're asking
questions, and then
questions,
it like makes
and
no
it backfires.
sense.
Yeah,
that would be funny.
So I mean, it's kind of a timeless trope. The campaign election, you can shove it in. Sure.
So yeah, a pretty high PS Today score, but overall,
if you make it funnier is the question.
Funnier.
Yes.
Put some more wordplay in there. Yep.
All right. Well, join us next week when the cousins are going to do the old hangout on a billboard TV sitcom trope.
What?
Somehow
is
they're
that a
stuck
trope?
on a billboard. I've seen. Now you've seen this. I've seen other episodes
on billboards. Okay.
Yeah. Somehow they get up on a billboard and they're stuck there or something. I don't know what happens, but I feel like
I feel like it's going to be an upswing in quality.
Hopefully, it sounds like a funny setup and a different set.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
And we'll see what happens. In the meantime,
fingers crossed, because we're in this till the end. So
we're deep. We're getting close to the end of episode 6. All the remaining episode 6 posts have been posted on the group.
Okay.
Up until the end of the episode,
and so we're winding down, and then we'll have
what is this? 19?
I think
there's 22 or 24. How many episodes are there this season?
Then we'll have a season break special, and
24 season break special, and then the final full season of another 24.
And then
there's
a half
6.
Season.
There's 6, not even half.
Oh yeah, short.
A quarter. 6 remain, and then we'll have to find out how that happened, when they got canceled, why did they think they had to still do 6 more episodes to close it up, or were they planning? I bet there's a story there. In the meantime, there's another way you can support the show. Not only can you buy merch from our TeePublic shop, you can donate virtual Dig Does right into our virtual production budget here. Buy us a coffee. There's a button on the website. We'd love any and all support. All that
we
goes
need
right
all
back.
the support we can get as we go through these last seasons.
It's getting a little rough. We're trying to find the gems in each episode, like Larry being manic and just doing things out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But I feel like we had a few gems this season.
Yeah.
That are memorable, and there's still a whole season left. And 6.
Hopefully, there's some gems
it's coming
in season 7 as well. And yet another way you can support us, if you don't have any Dig Dust to toss us, that's totally fine too. You can support us by pressing some buttons on your computer. You can press the buttons that spell out danceofjoypod.com and go visit our website. And from there, keep on pressing buttons. Go to Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all the places we've listed where you can find our podcast, and then press more buttons and leave us ratings and reviews, hopefully good ones, and subscribe and all that fun stuff. And also from the website, you can press another button and record your voice. Come and say hi to us. Leave us a voice message. Tell us what you thought. Did you win your election for student body president or any election? And tell us if you remember using those sticky letters for poster boards for the science fair. You can also press more buttons in your email application and send us a written message via electronic mail at danceofjoypod@gmail.com. And keep on pressing those buttons and take yourself to any of our social media sites and follow us and like us and leave us comments there. We'd love to hear from you. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. But Imran, what is the most important thing our listeners should do?
Well, when you're having company, always make sure you make enough pig snout. It's hard to stretch
the snout.
Hard to stretch
Very
the snap.
true.
Also, tell them what they want to hear and then do whatever you want. No, don't do that.
Lies.
You need to have integrity in your election. I never ran for any kind of a political office, but if I had to, I would probably lose.
I had to do a speech to convince people to vote for me for editor-in-chief of the newspaper, and I lost.
Oh, boy.
I was not
See,
compelling enough.
That's why
And I was
I
devastated.
will not ever get into politics.
I was devastated. I'm about to run for condo board, though.
Oh,
We'll
yeah, I
see.
think you'll win that. Use the vote. We'll make posters and buttons and spread the word.
Spread it around the building.
And we'll make enough pig snout. In the meantime, listener, share the show.
Share the show with a friend. That's really the most important thing you can
campaign for the show. Spread the word.
Make poster boards.
Make posters and buttons and banners.
And banners and yes. Share the literature. Share the show with a friend. Talk about it, please. That would help us a lot. Word of mouth goes a long way, and we would love you forever for that. That is our show for this week. Now we are so happy.
Now we are so happy. We do the dance of joy. Die, 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 die.
Hey, 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 hey.